Yeah.
Frank,
and
do
no
we
back
have a
window.
right under the contract?
And I thought I was just gonna have that solid top up occasionally, but we just kept up the whole time because it was either hot, cold, windy, rainy. I mean, it was 34 degrees in Yellowstone. We got these
I think you didn't have us like forest fires during the meeting.
right. Yeah. I mean, driving at 34 degrees at 6 in the morning through Yellowstone, my fans were freezing.
God.
But those are little things, that make things challenging and fun, I guess.
Oh, do we have a right to their books? A check for insolvency.
Frank, it's
I
6:30.
can tell you that one of the supervisors, exactly that.
Frank,
Great mind.
it's 6:30.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So up here chatting. All right, good evening, everybody. Today is July 9th. The time is 6:30 p.m., and I am calling this meeting of the Macomb Township Board of Trustees to order, and we will first say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so I see a lot of new faces here today, so I'm going to give everybody a quick how this is going to go tonight. I know why everybody is here, and I completely understand why. We are going to conduct our meeting when I say it is time for public comment on agenda items. That will be your opportunity to come up to the microphone, and you will have 3 minutes to address the board onto any of your concerns regarding the Priority Waste contract and their service. Or lack thereof. Please understand that it's not a dialogue between the board and you while you're up there. It is your chance to address us, so please say whatever is on your mind. When we get to the point of the meeting where we are going to have a discussion, which is what I'm going to ask for when we approve the agenda, we will do our best to address anything that is brought up during those public comments. So hopefully that is clear. You're going to approach the microphone on the right-hand side of the room. You're going to have 3 minutes. I will give you a little notice at about 10 seconds to go. All I need is your name and address for the record, and you are welcome to address the board however you choose. With that, Clerk, Mr. Carterman, will we call the roll?
Yes, sir. Trustee Cusimano.
Here.
Trustee Lucido is absent. Trustee Oliver.
Here.
Trustee Papa.
Here.
Treasurer Drollet.
Here.
Clerk Posey is absent. Supervisor Viviano.
Here. So moving on to approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda discussion and possible action regarding the so-called services and contract provided by Priority Waste.
Support.
So you're approving with that addition.
I would approve the agenda with that addition, sir.
Mr. Carterman, are there any other deletions from the agenda?
We
a
do
couple?
have 2 postponements, item number 11 and 13. Item 11 under Department of Public Works, request to award custodial services contract for the rec center and DPW to master maintenance will be brought back at a future meeting, as well as under planning and zoning number 13 will be brought back probably at the next meeting. Josh, is that right?
Possibly.
Possibly.
Okay.
And
Treasurer
that,
Gillette, will you amend your motion to include those deletions to the agenda?
I would, sir.
Does the support include those as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, has it been assigned a number on
Mr. Carterman, is the new item assigned a number?
item 15.
Item 15.
thank you.
Okay, with that motion and support, are there any discussions on the amended agenda? Hearing none. Motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Papa to approve the agenda as amended. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to approval of the bills. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve bills?
Support.
Any questions or discussion on the bill run? Hearing none. Motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Papa to approve paying the bills. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. This takes us to our next item is approval of the previous meeting's minutes, including closed session minutes from June 25th, 2025.
Trustee Kuzma makes a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Support.
Any questions or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I had an
Yes.
opportunity to review the closed meeting minutes, found them to be accurate and consistent with what took place.
Thank you, Trustee Kuzmano. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. We got a motion by Trustee Kuzmano, supported by Trustee Oliver, to approve the previous meeting's minutes from June 25th. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we have reached the public comment period. This is for agenda items. There will be a second public comment at the end of the meeting for non-agenda items. But anyone who wishes to make public comment may approach the microphone on the right-hand side of the room. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very disappointed with the service that we're getting from Priority. I have this evening learned that they bought out GFL, which was the prior trash management, and they did a very good job. I have no complaints with GFL. Priority has at least 3 times on my street been delinquent with picking up the garbage on the scheduled dates. It has gone from 1 day to 3 days to almost 4 days. And of course, with the first one, we just assumed that, you know, there was just some fluke. But when the second one happened, and I think it was the very next week, we called to say, hey, you know, we've got our garbage out there. It was warm, so it was obviously starting to stink. And the representative, they answered the phone. She was very kind, said that she was going to take it to the supervisor, and, you know, we would hear back from them, and that didn't happen. So I've also found out, a very nice letter that you had put together, that this is a contract that they had acquired from GFL. And my observations, working from home and being able to witness what's taking place, they seem to be less staffed than GFL was. GFL seemed to have a driver and a couple people on the back of the truck hauling it in, and at times the driver would come out and assist. What I've witnessed now is that there is a driver and there is one person on the back, and the driver jumps out and he helps the person in the back. I don't know if it's a manpower issue that they're experiencing, or if it's maybe equipment. They have trucks that simply don't run. But the time of the pickup also is affected because we put our garbage out the night before to make sure that you're there for the pickup. And a lot of times, you know, when they do arrive, it might be 6 or 7 o'clock at night on my street. So with this being a contract and understanding now that a new contract could be sought out, but that cost would be passed on to the residents, so that's a hard pill to swallow if you have to pay more for it. I see there's an attorney here. I imagine you're the township attorney? I am. So I'm not certain if there's any kind of legal action, you know, that we could take to try to, I'm going to use the word muscle because I don't know what to say.
10 seconds.
Okay. But if there's something that we can do possibly legally to get them to come here, if they've got a problem, they share it with us, maybe there's an understanding we could have.
Thank you. And your name and address again?
I'm sorry, my name is Mike Koltuniak, and my address is 49301 Morning Glory Drive.
Thank you, Mike. Speak right into that microphone so we can all hear you.
Everything he said, I verify.
I'm sorry.
It's
Name
been
and address for the record?
Marlene Olson, 48624 Vintage Lane. We've had the problem, and a lot of times it's supposed to be picked up on Wednesday and it's picked up on Friday or Saturday. And I call, and they always say, we'll call you back within the hour, and it's sometimes 2 or 3 days. But lately, it has been within the hour. This lady has called back. She's been very nice, but she's been saying that she knows there's a problem, doesn't know what to do with it, but she gets complaints all the time. Well, just last week, when we weren't picked up again, I saw Priority going down another sub, and I stopped him and I said, when are we going to get picked up? It's already been 2-3 days late. And so he took my information, and he did say, though, he says, it might take him 3 months to fix up one broken truck. Things are not getting done there. He says, I know it. And then we're short-staffed, and he was all alone, the driver, nobody else helping him. And he was saying that his customers aren't being served like they should be. And he says, but I'll come over to your sub right away and pick up. And he did within the hours. That was really sweet of him. But that's not what they're doing. And I don't know what's going on. We are super blessed to have everything we do have. Let's face it, everything's great. But Priority, I don't know who's running it, but if it takes 3 months to fix one broken truck, something's wrong. And it seems like we're not getting picked up any more whatsoever on time. It's always 2 or 3 days late, and it's usually late at night before they even come. So it's definitely a problem.
Thank you. Who else?
My name is Paul Brown. I live at 15465 Valerie Drive, Macomb. And what she said, but twice. I mean, it's gotten so bad, and I wanted to blow these pictures up for you. My house you can't see because I have 7 tall boys and 3 short ones and 1 throwaway, full of rubbish, and they're not picking it up. And I mean, what do I do with it? You know, gotta give me some. What do I do with it? I keep taking it back and setting it out for the next time. Then they take it. This last time, nobody came around at all. And like I say, I got pictures of it. You can't see my house for all the trash in the front yard. It's ridiculous. So you guys got to do something.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kenneth Josefchik, 45656 Plum Grove. And the opportunity to talk to Treasurer Drollet before the meeting. And I usually don't say too much, but being in upper management when I was working, if our managers purchased a company with the excuses that the trucks, they didn't know the trucks were broken, the staffing issues were there, I mean, you have to do your due diligence, and these people would have been fired immediately. I just don't understand how, I mean, we have a lot more pressing issues to worry about than garbage, but it's terrible. We live on the floodplain of Plum Grove, right by Goldie's, and we have a lot of animals. We have foxes, squirrels, raccoons who are like notorious, and I mean, these things are gonna start running wild. Now, all of a sudden, you start seeing rodents with rats, I mean, it's a real problem. So, I mean, talking to Priority, I mean, when you do get through, they're very nice, but I almost feel like I'm calling the Department of Defense and asking for the nuclear codes because you can't get through. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And when they do pick up, they do a good job. I won't fault them there. They are late, but you know what? They come the next day. That's fine. It's a terrible job. They deserve a lot of credit. It's not the easiest job in the world to jump off a back of a truck when it's 95 degrees, but maybe they need to start looking at maybe paying people more money. I mean, I really don't have a solution to it, and since they almost have a monopoly, it's really, really a bad situation, and it's probably going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Because you call them up, and I feel sorry for the ladies in your office, Supervisor Viviano, because the one lady, her and I are on a first name basis already. I mean, she's very sweet. She always comes back, and she says, you know, they're trying their best. You've been talking to them. Well, what I was talking to Treasurer Drollet, it's like, where's Priority? They should be handling this. You guys don't need to do this. They should put people in your office to handle the phone calls. I mean, they really need to step up and do the job. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Don't be shy. This is an important issue.
My name's Tom Smith, 49400 Morning Glory Drive, and I never complained. I've been in Macomb Township since '86. And when you have garbage out on a holiday, you have family over, and you got bags and bags and containers of garbage in your subdivision, it looks horrible. Then it starts to smell. So I can't say anything more than anybody else said, but it is an aggravating situation, and I don't know what you can do about it or if anything can be done since it's a contract, but this company is absolutely terrible, and I wish I had GFL back.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just one at a time. Sir, if you want to talk to the lovely young lady back there in the gray or in the black, you can show them your pictures and they can take care of you.
There you go. Thank you. Come over.
My name is Merlene Thompson. I live at 21133 25 Mile Road. The problem we had with the garbage was all of 25 was picked up except between Broughton and Foss Road. So our garbage sat out for 6 nights, and needless to say, many critters got into it 3 different times. I'd like to say a special thank you, though, to Olivia in your supervisor's office. I made a phone call to her, and she was very kind and gracious to make an attempt to contact Priority for us. And when I did call Priority at 7 different times, I never got a call back until an hour before our garbage was picked up last night. And it usually is on Friday, but because of the holiday, it would be Saturday. And I had asked her what in the heck is going on. She said, I have no clue. So anyways, and other than that, I also wanted to say a special thank you for the township being involved in paving our road between Broughton and Foss. That is a blessing, and I say thank you so very much for that.
Anyone else? All right, if there's no more comment, we're going to move on with the rest of our meeting. We do have some business items to take care of. I do promise they're going to go fairly quick, and we're going to get to our priority waste discussion very quickly. I guess one point of clarification, Marlene, I don't think we had anything to do with the paving, did we? That was all county?
We may have nudged him a little
We nudged
bit.
him a little?
Yeah.
That wasn't one we participated in, no. Okay. I just want, if we didn't do it, I don't want us to, Jim probably nudged him. Jim's good at nudging. But we thank the county for their cooperation in getting that done for our residents. Okay, I'm going to move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the consent agenda in its entirety.
Support.
Any questions or discussion on the consent items? Motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Papa to approve the consent agenda. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to, we have a public hearing. So this is for a street lighting special assessment district for the Beck Heritage Farms Site Condominiums Phase 1. Mr. Van Tiffelen, you want to tell us what we're doing here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, board members, this is a brand new subdivision, and as you are aware, the township does require streetlights be installed by the developer. This is the public hearing that's necessary for the township to set up the special assessment district so that the township can pay the DTE bill by collecting money from the residents within the subdivision. The developer owns all of the parcels, so we are ready to go at this point. You have to
Okay.
answer any questions.
So at this time, it is 6:49 PM, and I am opening the public hearing on the street lighting SAD for Beck Heritage Farms Site Condominium Phase 1. Anyone who wishes to make a comment for this public hearing may do so now at the microphone on the right-hand side of the room. And I don't see anyone making a move, so I am going to close the public hearing, and it is still 6:49 PM. That will take us to new business. This is a request to adopt the resolution for the SAD for Beck Heritage Farm Site Condominium Phase 1.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Support.
Anything to add from what you just said, Mr. Van Tiffelen?
This is the resolution that's necessary to actually establish the special assessment district.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion from the board? Hearing none. Motion by Treasurer Drollet, supported by Trustee Oliver, to adopt the resolution for the street lighting SAD for Beck Heritage Farms Site Condominium Phase 1. Mr. Carter, may we call the roll?
Yes, sir. Treasurer Drollet,
Yes.
Trustee Oliver,
Yes.
Trustee Kuzimano,
Yes.
Trustee Papa,
Yes.
Supervisor Viviano.
Yes, that resolution is adopted. Moving on to item 10 is a request to approve the non-residential cross-connect program agreement with HydroCorp in the amount of $146,507.83.
So move.
Support.
Mr. Johnson.
All right, good evening, Board. Eagle, so the state of Michigan, is requiring us to improve our cross-connection program. So the DPW would like to start with the non-residential portion of this program and have HydroCorp help draft the updated program that is due to Eagle on August 30th, as well as have HydroCorp perform all the inspections for this program. This is a 5-year contract, has been reviewed by the township attorney. He had some housekeeping comments that need to be addressed, but we'll get those handled tomorrow with them, and the confirmation of process memo is attached, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or discussion from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just a quick question. It's commercial only, no residential?
Correct.
Okay.
So as a clarification, Trustee Papa, a residential program is being developed. It has to be approved by Eagle. It's going to be a topic for another day, but
Okay.
this is the first part of that.
Question.
Yes.
Does their price cover the 5 years?
Yes,
All right, that's the full 5 years?
yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anything else? Hearing no more questions. Motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Oliver, to approve the non-residential cross-connection program agreement with HydroCorp, $146,000, $507.83. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right, item 11 is postponed. Number 12 is a request to approve the updated DPW fee schedule. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Trustee Kuzma supports the motion.
Mr. Johnson.
All right, so these fees are associated with our department that do not pertain to water and sewer rates. These are like new meters, radio devices, new water lines being installed, things of that nature. We update these fees every 2 years, and costs are adjusted for inflation and increased costs of brass, copper, and other items. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Motion by Trustee Oliver, supported by Trustee Kuzmano, to approve the updated DPW fee schedule. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 13, Item 13 is postponed. Let's take us to item 14. Is a request to approve the purchase of 6 batting cages from JPO Sports from Macomb Corners Park in the amount of $45,103.30.
So moved.
Support.
Mr. DeCaro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Evening, board members. Parks and Recreation Department is requesting permission to purchase 6 batting cages from Macomb Corners Park. There'll be 1 batting cage associated with each ball diamond at the park. We're recommending to purchase the cages from J Pro Sports for a total of $45,103.30. This is a Sourcewell item. I've included the quote and confirmation process memo from the purchasing department. Just for clarification, this is for the material only. I will be back in the next few weeks with installation cost. I am available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. DeCaro. Any questions or discussion?
Question.
Yes.
When do you think they'll be in service? After you get them, you install them?
Well, the biggest thing right now is we talked to a couple of companies about the installation, so we really won't know. We'd love to have them, for the fall season for sure.
So we're looking possibly?
Oh, it's possibly, yeah, we're hoping to have it for this year, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Hearing no more questions, motion by Trustee Oliver, supported by Trustee Papa, to approve the purchase of the 6 batting cages from Jayco Sports for Macomb Corners Park the amount of $45,130.30. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right.
Thank you, Bart.
Thank you, Sal. So this will take us to item 15. So this is our discussion. I don't think, do we need to have a motion to open up discussion? Or we just discussion?
I move that we open the discussion and possible action regarding
I don't know if a
priority
motion
waste.
Is a motion necessary, Roger? To open discussion? Yes?
So
Is there
I'll
a
make-
second?
Support.
Any questions or discussion on opening for discussion? Motion by Treasurer Drollet, supported by Trustee Papa to open the floor for discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. All right, so I guess I'll kick things off. I'm going to give everybody a brief history lesson on how we got into the situation. I think our first resident recapped it pretty well. As of just over a year ago, we were GFL customers. The township had gone through the open bidding process just the year prior, less than a year prior. Trustee Kuzmano was on that committee along with a number, so it was Mr. Johnson who was here, along with a number of other township department heads. They made a so out of 3 bidders, Priority Waste, GFL, and Waste Management, they recommended GFL. Waste Management was considerably more at the time, more than double, I believe, per quarter. Priority Waste was equivalent, but the committee expressed strong reservations regarding awarding it to Priority Waste. So they chose to recommend to this board to approve the GFL contract, which we then did. About 8 months later, after they took over, they bought out GFL's contracts. So now the township has the vendor that we specifically passed on. Now, we knew that it would be a bumpy transition. I made a number of statements to the public to be patient, trying to urge everyone to give them an opportunity to get their feet underneath them. They effectively, and I don't know for sure the size, but I'm going to guess about increased their scope of their business by about a factor of 10, maybe more. They took on over 70 communities trash service all on the same day last year. I don't know who thought that was a great idea, but amongst my peers, we had strong reservations about anybody's, not just Priorities, but anybody's ability to take on that much business at once. So we suffered through the first few months. It was a little bumpy, but things got much better. Towards the late fall and early spring, things were better. They weren't perfect. Their billing was a nightmare. Their customer service on calling for phones has always been bad since they took over, but at least things were getting picked up mostly. And about 2 months ago, I think just before Memorial Day, service started declining rapidly. We have been repeatedly told by the Priority Management team that their trucks are in poor condition, that GFL left them with a mess and all kinds of other stuff. We have heard that they were having manpower issues, although Priority Management has never admitted as such. We have witnessed the same things some residents have. Trucks with single drivers, not being able to get routes done. My office has been flooded with Priority Waste messages for the past 2 months. And it has gone exponentially worse day by day, to the point where we're getting more than 50 a day. My team back there, one of them's not here, have been doing their best. Someone mentioned Olivia. Olivia is great. Beth's back there. You may be on first name basis with Beth as well. But they are doing their very best to respond to every single resident who contacts us and to communicate to Priority Waste on your behalf and on behalf of the township to see to it that services are completed. But it's not gotten better. We have talked to Priority Waste. I have talked to their CEO. They have promised better service. They have promised new trucks. but we are just not seeing results. So I am bringing this to the board because administratively, the township attorney and I have worked on a notice of default to put them on notice that we feel that they are in default of their contract. I wanted the board to make the decision to send that letter. It's all of you have a copy. That is one option we have before us. There are other options. We could go out for bid, but we know it's an uncompetitive environment. We don't believe that there is a company out there that could competitively take on the business. I believe Waste Management can. I have spoken to Waste Management. They would love to bid on it. It will be more expensive. It will be a different level of service. They only pick up carts. They don't pick up bags. But other communities have moved to them and are willing to pay more. That's certainly an option. And there are other options. I have been in constant communication the past couple of weeks with my fellow mayors and supervisors. And every single community where Priority is doing business is having these same issues. Every single one of us is fed up. We reached out to Priority for a meeting. We were rebuffed at first, but we have successfully scheduled a meeting next week with Priority Management as a group of township supervisors. And we hope that having a face-to-face conversation will help bring some clarity to the problems and at least maybe move us to a path towards getting resolutions, but that remains to be seen. I think I've about summed up where we're at.
Chairman, just like to mention, I was involved with you and other elected officials in previous meetings with Priority Waste's owner, and have heard the promises that things are going to get fixed. I thought you did meet with Priority Waste owner a couple weeks ago regarding, and he said they were bringing on new trucks, they were going to take care of the problem.
So I made a public statement a couple of weeks ago. You may have seen it on social media. We had just finished, I think it was a Monday, after a 3-day weekend, and our calls that Beth and Olivia and the team were dealing with were the worst they had ever been. At our clerk's prompting, she and I called the CEO. He picked up. I told him, I asked him what was going on. I told him I needed answers from my community, that I had to make a public statement because the community deserves some answers as to what was going on with their trash service. He told me on the phone, and the clerk, Posey, although she's not here, was a witness to the conversation, that they had accepted delivery of 50 new trucks, that by the next day that they would be in service, that they would not even get painted, that they would be on the road immediately, and by the end of the week, they would be caught up. I said, I need to say that publicly. He said, go ahead. So I did. And I looked like a fool for believing him. So I apologize to anybody who took that message at face value. I took the message that was given to me at face value, as I do with all of our partners. However, for whatever reason, that proved not to be the case. I did find out about 10 days later that those trucks had to be, quote, processed and teched up, that I have in an email message from Mr. Stamper. And those trucks are, according to them, 28 of the 50 were delivered, not all 50. And I don't know how many of those are even being put into service in our community. So I delivered false information, and I take full responsibility for taking them at face value. I should know by now to verify it, and I didn't.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think one of the things that the board needs to have answers is regard to what legal options we have available to us, both under the contract and under the law. I know it's been the biggest burden of this failure by Priority Waste has been that on the residents in their neighborhoods. It's also been a burden on your department, Treasurer's Department, Clerk's Department. And my staff at the Treasury Department is used to taking calls about taxes and about water rates. And now we're being inundated by calls about garbage pickup. And that's not what my staff is used to answering. You know, when we have contracts with a number of other vendors, whether it's to mow the lawns in the township or, you know, to do engineering work, And, those people are responsive. I don't get calls inundated that the lawns are not being mowed at the township parks. But we have options there. We can hire another lawn company. We have some leverage. What is our leverage? What are our points of leverage with the priority situation? What if the level of service continues to be as bad as it's been? Can we get out of the contract?
I'll make some statements. I'll just ask the township attorney if anything I'm saying is incorrect. I don't want him to be giving us legal advice, and typically we do that under attorney-client privilege situations. But as he and I have discussed, and as I understand our contract, yes, we can get out of the contract. However, that means we have to have a service to be able to come in and provide that service, pick up our trash. I've spoken to one waste hauler service. I know you spoke to someone who had information about another. Can we get another service in here? We can. On an emergency basis, it'll be incredibly expensive. They'd have to rent trucks, find drivers. It wouldn't be the same level of service, but we could probably, in an emergency situation, get something done. As a long-term solution, it's a bit more of a challenge. Priority Waste did, in effect, create a local monopoly by taking out GFL, and there are only small companies that still exist. For example, Tringali is a company that provides this service. They just took over the service for Harrison Township. Harrison Township is a much smaller community than we are, and that company happens to be local to Harrison Township, so they're able to do it with only a couple of service trucks. I don't know who would bid on our contract other than maybe Waste Management, which again is sort of a different level of service than what the township had been used to.
I was looking on social media, and the supervisor of Clinton Township discussed on his, I guess, podcast or whatever it might be, a video cast, that Clinton Township is fining Priority Waste on a daily basis for missed pickups. Is that provided for within our contract?
Yes. And the liquidated damages clause, is that accurate?
Yeah, so there's there's kind of a step process. The first step is, and part of why this is being put on the agenda, is that we have to put them on notice, formal notice, that they are in default of the contract and the bases for that default. It gives them 30 days to cure that default. After that 30 days, we have to afford them a hearing before we start instituting the liquidated damages clause. Now, there's two liquidated damages clause. One is it's a $500 liquidated damage clause that's payable to the township. It's just a flat fee for each if the default fails to be cured and continues to be not cured.
I'm sorry, $500 total or per day, or?
It's one of two.
It's not per day, it's per notice of default. So give them 30 days, they don't comply, we impose $500. Give them another 30 days, it actually goes up. There's a scale on it, okay? The second one, and probably most effective, is the one where if they fail to pick it up from a resident, that if they fail to do so before the noon of the following day, we may impose a $35 liquidated damage for each day that it's in default. So
each instance.
I believe it's each day.
Each day, and each instance, right?
For each failure to make a collection from a site of generation in accordance with the schedule of collections, where correction of such occurrence is not made by 12 o'clock noon the following day, the township may assess the contractor the sum of $35 as liquidated damages. So, if your pickup is on a Tuesday and doesn't get picked up till Friday, it is only 35 days. It's not for every day that it's late. Okay.
But it would be for each resident.
Yeah, then if it's the next Tuesday that they're supposed to be picked up and it hasn't been picked up still, they could be fined the 35 days again. And that's
$35, you mean?
$35, yes, for each resident.
If I may clarify, so if there's 75 houses in a subdivision and they're all not picked up by noon the following day, we can assess them $35 times 70.
Correct.
Correct, okay. But we have to wait 30 days after giving them notice and allow them a public hearing before we can institute that fine process. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes,
A question,
John,
instead
go
of
ahead.
follow-up. How would we track that?
So there's a couple ways. One, they provide us typically a notice of the date or unfinished routes of that particular day. So come Tuesday, they send us a notice Wednesday saying that these were not picked up. It's a little bit of an arduous task potentially, but we should have access to their portal to determine whether or not their trucks actually picked it up by the day following by noon. It's work on our behalf to do that. So you would have to have someone assigned to see, all right, let's go on the portal. Is the trash picked up or is it not picked up after noon the following day? Which obviously is personnel costs and the like. But that's how Clinton Township's basically doing the same thing.
To answer your question, Trustee Oliver, it will be a very labor-intensive task on a part of the township to track that. I can tell you that Clinton Township is using 8 people in their DPW department to track that number. And and as Supervisor Gilliam said in his video statement, they intend to levy that fine in their contract.
So can we pick up any of our cost of our manpower here for tracking and these various things, all the phone calls that our people have been fielding? Is there any way for us to recoup some of that?
It's not provided for in the contract.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity to follow up on that, if I may, Mr. Chair, if we are in a situation where we have to sue them, is it possible, I mean, effectively, they've turned entire departments of this township away from doing the work that they traditionally do into a complaint department that we are handling for them. Is there, even though we're not provided under the contract, is there any way to provide under law, you know, if we have to have township employees that have other jobs now dedicated to doing their work and following up with their problems and their complaints, and they've basically turned over their job to the people of this township who have other jobs to do. Is there any way that we can recoup that in somewhat like a legal process?
It would be part of the damage claim that we would likely include with our complaint.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Charlie?
Is there any kind of, in the contract, any kind of a bonding effect?
So they have a performance bond in there, but the performance bond isn't based upon necessarily their day-to-day performance. If they should have failed to continue the service, let's say they walked away and said, we're out of here,
Yep.
we can then go against the performance bond, which is $750,000. Sounds like a lot, but it's not when it comes to garbage. It's a very, very small amount.
You would get us through like a month, maybe.
Yeah, that's about what it would cost us to have someone else come in, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So it'll give you a little breathing room.
would help you.
It would help us.
Yeah.
It'll give us a little breathing room, but it's not a whole lot.
Not the answer, yeah.
Anyone else?
Okay.
Trustee Kuzmano, do you have anything?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. Several legal theories. Could you just tell the board whether or not they're eligible to be involuntarily bankrupt and a receiver appointed? How do you expect, I guess this is a broader question, how do we expect them to perform when they've shown such,
It would be something that would have to, if we get to the point where it's a failure to perform and they're refusing to perform, I think at that point you would be seeking receivership over their business. Because you got to remember too, this isn't just happening here. Once one of us starts getting on board, or we go along with a number of other communities to force their hand, at that point I think a judge is going to have a receiver come in and take over the business and oversee the business.
all right. And is there any interest of the board to set up some kind of an emergency dump location so that if people have to get it off their property, that they're able to do so without undue expense?
I don't think we've reached that point yet, although I have wondered the same thing myself, that if some of these pickups go a couple more days, that we may have to do something. I think we're going to take that. I know this gentleman has an issue that I'm going to help you after this meeting, sir. We'll figure that out. If I have to do it administratively and get dump trucks and hire people, we will.
Well, I'd like to assure the residents that all their concerns, the exact language has been mentioned in the discussions over the last 2 to 3 weeks. You know, I ran on a basis, a platform of keeping Macomb Township clean, safe, and affordable, and this one hits the clean right at the center of attention. I got the temporary dumpster. That's all I have right
Okay.
now.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Trustee Papa.
Yeah, I know that they've been sending you sort of an email every day with a status of how much is being picked up, the trash, recycle, compost, and that. How accurate are we noticing that their reports based on what we're...
It's really hard to say. Beth from my office is here, and she runs my office, and her and Olivia field most of the complaints. Beth, do you feel that the reports are relatively accurate from the calls you get in? She feels so? What I can tell you is that the reports that we've been getting, I think for at least the last 2 weeks, they're providing us the percentage of picked up, and they break it down by the type of, whether it's trash, recycling, or yard waste. That number has hovered between, and Beth, correct me if I'm wrong, 60 and 80% almost every day. The worst one I saw was the Monday before, no, it was sent to us the Monday before the 4th for June 30th, I believe, and they reported that 50% of trash and only 5% of yard waste was picked up. So that is wholly unacceptable. Everybody is justified in their anger and frustration, and I think everybody sitting up here shares in that.
Mr. Chair, it appears, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we have 2 options. One, we could do nothing and hope that things get better. Or 2, we could begin the process of enforcing the contract through legal action by instituting the 30-day period and hoping that we can get this addressed, but at least get that ball rolling. And if we have to, at the end of that 30 days, have the hearing and begin initiating the fines against priority waste. I think this board has been more than patient, and our residents have been more than patient, waiting for the service to improve. And we haven't seen it, and the opposite has been happening. So through you to the attorney, what would be necessary? Would it be a motion from the board to initiate the 30-day window?
So it'd be a motion. It'd be a motion to send formal correspondence to Priority Waste, putting them on notice that they're in default of the contract. I would also suggest that included in that motion that we set the hearing date to invite them to attend on August 13th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m.
At what date again, sir?
August 13th, 2025. That's the first date that we would have after the 30 days.
I see.
Did you get that all written down, or do you need him to
Is there
repeat
a
it?
time on that?
I got part of it written down.
That's our August
That's your August date.
Oh, okay, I
board
see,
meeting.
yeah, okay.
So, again, helping with the motion, I would make the motion that this board issue a notice of default to Priority Waste and inform them that they have 30 days in which we're initiating a 30-day period.
30 days to cure the default.
To cure the default, exactly. And that we are then establishing a public hearing on August 13th, 2025, for the purposes of establishing whether or not the default has been cured.
Correct.
And to take potential additional action at that time.
Correct.
So that would be my motion, Mr. Chair.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion and a support on the floor. I do want to say one thing. I have thus far in my 4.5 years as township supervisor successfully worked through a lot of issues with a lot of different township contractors and vendors. I've treated them all like a partner. I am honest with them, and one thing I expect in return is honest communication back. And that has been a successful recipe to working through problems. The communication between us and Priority, I believe, has broken down. And in my discussions with other community leaders, I think that sentiment is shared. I won't speak for them, but I can just tell you what my feeling is based on our conversations. I am not litigious by nature. I don't believe being adversarial typically gets you very far, but I no longer have a choice. I have to enforce the contract that they have undertaken, and I don't see any other means to go forward. Trustee Oliver or Trustee Kuzmano, do you want to say anything on this before we vote?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Do the residents, including myself and my home, continue to pay the fees, or are we going to channel those monies into an escrow account?
That's a question we haven't discussed. The rate's scheduled to go up every basically fall. September, I believe, is the escalator.
At this point, I would recommend
Continuing to pay.
payments.
That's not going to feel very good.
No, it doesn't. It already doesn't feel
I know
good. It
this
feels terrible.
I'd just like to add, there was a reason, I've been here 25 years. At the beginning of our ownership of the residence on Jenny Drive, we had there was 3 or 4 different waste management companies picking up in the subdivision on all different days. That's the reason why it got centralized. And this board used its police powers to force the residents into the contract and also the ordinance, which controls a lot of these issues. So I guess I just don't, not seeing that things are going to get better. I'm in favor of authorizing the supervisor to act with general counsel and proceed as been indicated by the motion. I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, Trustee Kuzma. Trustee Oliver, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm also in favor of it. I feel these residents took this time out to come tonight, tell us their frustrations, and it's sad to see that we all depended on a company to do something. This company said they were going to do it, and they epically failed. And this board, and I know the supervisor and their staff, has done everything they've could to get this company motivated. But it seems like there's a lot of things that are very untruthful when you start really diving into it. So, what this company tells our supervisor and does not do. So therefore, I am in favor of this 100%, and I'm sorry that the residents are going through this, but we're all going to work through it together. That's all I could say.
Thank you, Trustee Oliver. Anything else from?
Yeah, just if this goes out, I guess we would send this out almost immediately.
Yes.
Could we have something on the next meeting agenda to just see if there's been any status?
Yes.
On?
Roger, we can make a note, we'll do a priority waste update at the next meeting. Yes. Yes, Trustee Papa, we can do those. And Treasurer Gillette, any last words?
Only that I hope that when the meeting comes in August with the public hearing, that we have the problem resolved. That would be the easiest solution. That somehow on that meeting it's resolved, because it doesn't get better from there. We can impose the fines, we can be collecting the fines, but we can't pick up the garbage without a garbage company. So I hope this doesn't become a war, but we have to, on behalf of our residents, enforce the contract that they bought and agreed to. Other words, we're going to continue to receive the lousy service that our residents have been experiencing and that we've been experiencing. So hopefully on August 13th, we're back here with good news. I hope so.
Thank you, Treasurer Gillette. So before we vote, a couple things. One, there is another public comment period, so if anybody would like to say anything else on the record, you can do so. It's going to come up here shortly when we're done. Same rules apply. We're not going to sit here and answer you. It's not a conversation, but you're welcome to make any statements. Same 3-minute time limit will apply. And the other thing is I want to say is before we make this vote that I just want to be clear to maybe any members of the priority team that are watching, this notice is not a lawsuit, although it is a formal legal step in the contract that is required for us to move forward. But I see it as an invitation to formally bring them to the table to let's get this resolved like partners. With that, we have a motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Papa. Roger, I'm not going to repeat the motion because I don't remember it all. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, with that, now we are to public comment. This would be for non-agenda items or any item in particular. If you do have something else you'd like to add to our discussion, now's your opportunity, and you can do so at the microphone at the right-hand side of the room. Same rules. Please use your name and address, and you do have a 3-minute time limit.
Marlene Olson, 48624 Vintage Lane. I was wondering about Card Road, which wasn't even in very bad shape, is getting resurfaced. But we have Heidenreich between Hall Road and 22 that is horrific, and it has been for years. And then we have 21 Meyer Road that's a mess from Card to Heidenreich for sure. I'm not sure to Romeo Plank. And then we have 22 from Card Road to Heidenreich. They're messes, and they've been for years. Why is Card getting resurfaced that wasn't even that bad, and the bad roads are not even touched?
Thank you. If you stick around for our comments, we'll try and address that.
Thank you again. My name is Mike Koltuniak. My address is 49301 Morning Glory Drive. Listening to the discussion, I really appreciate a tremendous amount of background effort that I've seen from the team here, or at least overheard this here. I have two suggestions maybe to consider. You've had conversations with other township in the area. Possibly, I know when I spoke to you before this, I said maybe is there any way we could put muscle on them? We talked about any kind of leverage that we may have. Possibly we could suggest to them a similar activity of putting them on notice. I don't know if a little more pressure, sometimes that can help. The other suggestion I have, and this is no reflection, I don't even know this attorney here, but when we have contracts, learning what we learn now, next contract, can we take a look at maybe some sort of protections that are in there? There's obviously the contracts written to protect them. Maybe we could do something where we could protect the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Tom Smith, 49400 Morning Glory Drive. My first comment is priority. I've been in business for 33 years. Priority is done. They're a bad company. You're not going to redeem them. They're done with. They're a bad company. We're just going to keep coming back here over and over and over again. And number two is since you gave them the amount of time to get their footing, we should all get a discount. Instead of paying for a good service, which was GFL, we should get a discount until they get their footing, and then which puts them under a punishment, which you probably can't do, but it'd be a good idea. And number three, can you get GFL back if it costs just a little bit more? Oh, they were sold. I thought they bought their contract. I didn't know they sold the company.
GFL exited, I'm breaking my own rule.
Okay.
GFL exited the residential service business.
Okay, because I have seen their trucks.
Their
and they
company
were at
exists,
business.
but not as a
Okay,
residential pickup.
cancel that. Waste management seems like a prima donna. I don't think anybody would be here happy with them if they're that picky and they cost that much money. So now I'm at a loss, because I was trying to get back GFL. But it shot me right out of the.
Welcome to my world.
But I don't think you're going to redeem Priority. I really don't. Like I said, I owned a business for 33 years. I've always give discounts. If I do my customers bad, I always do something good for them. This company here, you going to talk? Okay, my wife's going to talk. I'm not going to tell you what she said. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
This is new to me, so be gracious. Catherine Smith, 49400 Morning Glory Drive, Macomb. First of all, one question. Can you get them on fraud? They took over a contract that they knew they could not fulfill. They didn't have the trucks. They didn't have the manpower. They didn't have anything to take on this contract, but they took it. That's fraud. And they are showing you and telling you they're going to give you trucks, and they're not. The first time I heard from this company was in an email threatening me because I didn't pay them. Well, first with GFL, we had a year contract, so I guess for a little bit it carried on. Then they send a thing, we don't have your money. All they want is money. They want everybody's money here. They want their money regularly. If you don't send it, they threaten you. Then you try to call them and you don't hear them for 5 or 6 days. You don't get bills. You don't get anything. I feel like they're going to get their money. They're going to pile it up and pile it up. Then they're going to file bankruptcy or something else, and they're going to run with our money. So I just don't understand. And I don't understand how they're getting away buying a contract legally that they knew without a shadow of a doubt they could not fulfill. That isn't just their slipping, that's fraud. And when you're dealing with fraud, you should be able to fight them. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Paul Brown, 15465 Valerie Drive. I've got some lovely pictures of my waste if you want to see them. So I've got 7 big tall boys and then a couple of bags.
We'll be happy to look at them after the meeting, sir.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Hello again. My name is Kenneth Josefchik, 45656 Plum Grove Drive. This is a little bit different than trash. I mean, way back when, we've lived here 38 years. We moved from Detroit, and all I can say is Mrs. Raska, may she rest in peace, she was probably the best trash hauler we ever had. She had her business right across the street from St. Isidore's, right off of Romeo Plank, but that's a separate issue. But I did want to comment that, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but Hall Road is turning into a drag strip. I feel like I'm at Detroit Dragway all over again. I know the the sheriff is trying his best, but some of this stuff at 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays is just terrible. I mean, you got these loud engines, the IROCs, the Camaros, etc. And it's just like, I think if there was just police cars out there or sheriff's cars, just shut this stuff down, because some of it is just really, really bad. So thank you. That's all I have to say. Appreciate your time.
Christine DeGroot, 15570 Aspen Drive. I too have a completely different problem, not garbage. I've lived in my neighborhood for 40 years, and it was one of the first, earlier developments. We don't have an association, so we don't have a board to go to when there are violators in the neighborhood. And I've, over the last several years, start to see the beauty of our neighborhood to diminish. And we have a lot of new neighbors in the area, and they don't have, I guess, pride of ownership. They are letting their properties really go downhill. They don't cut the grass. They let the weeds grow. They have fences that are very old. They're leaning over. They're being propped up by, some kind of metal structure. It looks terrible. Today I was out driving and I just noticed, and everywhere I was going where there were fences along 21 Mile Road, along Hayes, along Tilch, they're allowing the weeds to grow on the sidewalk side of the fences, and you can't even walk on the sidewalks anymore. You're attacked by bugs, or there's just no room on the sidewalk to grow. And I'm not understanding, being a resident of 40 years, I'm not understanding why this is being allowed. And I have called over the years a couple times and talked with the township, probably talked to Olivia, and I've been told that I have to report it. And I don't feel that that's my responsibility to report my neighbors. And I care about my neighbors and I want to be there for them, in any way I can possibly be for them. But what they do in a close community is affecting everybody else's. And I have thought about moving. But I'm not in a position to do that. At 40 years, I'm a widow. And I want to stay in my home. I have put a lot of money into my home and I have pride of ownership. But I'm seeing, sporadically around our neighborhood, and it's a good 10 residents it's a smaller, subdivision, but it's a good 10 to 12 residents that every year it's the same thing and it's getting worse. And we have ordinances in our neighborhood that you're not supposed to park recreational vehicles for long periods of time in your driveway, but they do. We have boats and campers, and one had a pod, there for a very long time. And I don't feel it's my responsibility. And I'm hearing all about this trash, issue, and I kind of feel funny, bringing this up with all this emergency stuff. But after a good 5 years, I'm just tired of it. And I would like some help from the township. This is the largest investment that I have, and I don't want to see it diminish.
10 seconds.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Leah Konarski. I live at 15575 Aspen Drive. I'm her neighbor. I agree with everything she said, for one thing, and I also agree with the garbage collection. It's been horrendous. So I just want to get that out of the way. But I also want to ask, I got a statement about my sidewalk. And first I got one statement, then I got a corrected statement. And I feel that I don't own the sidewalk. It's a public sidewalk. And I would like to know, why does the homeowner who happens to have their house in front of that sidewalk, and if it's cracked, why do we have to pay for it? I know that when you use a toll road or whatever, everybody pays because everybody uses it. People walk their dogs, people ride their bikes and stuff. I just feel this should be explained, why the property owner is in charge of paying for that. And another thing, if you're going to do that, why not, and I know some people might not agree with this, but we pay our taxes. Have every homeowner in the subdivision add a few, maybe 25, 30 bucks every time they pay. At the end of 10, 15, 20 years, when the sidewalks are cracked, nobody has to be held one person liable for that. Everybody's sharing it because we're all sharing the use. So this is my gripe about, the sidewalk. But I agree with everything everybody else has said. That's, 100%. And another thing too, I've got another little pet peeve. Macomb, I was in Troy today, I've been in Clinton Township, I go all over. I have grandkids. My poor grandkids have to go to another place to swim, or they have to go for a splash pad or whatever, they have to go to Clinton Township. Then they have to pay. I pay taxes, they pay taxes. Why do we not have that? We've got all these pickleball courts for the seniors. Well, you're building new subdivisions. You're going to get new families that have little kids. When they're out working and the grandparents are watching these kids, it would be nice to have a place for them to go. And I just think it's only fair. If you're going to have a dog park, you're going to have pickleball, have something for the younger kids. I just think that's only fair. Everybody shares in it. And that's what I feel. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
That's it.
Good evening. Mark Moritz, 46593 Beaujard Drive. I bet that gentleman up 100% about Hall Road. I got woken up. I'm a hard sleeper too. I got woken up, it was a couple weeks ago, by these crotch rockets. And honest, I thought they'd come through my front window. I mean, there must have been, guaranteed there's at least 50 out there. That's all I could hear for about 5 minutes is going down Hall Road. Now, I understand the police are kind of shorthanded. I understand they're trying to get, officer retiring. Nobody wants to, for the police force. But yeah, it's getting a little ridiculous out there. And my daughter drove home, was it last week? And she had 2 motorcycles come up east side of the car and cut in front of her, and she almost hit them. So, like I said, I understand the police are being a little bit shorthanded, but something's got to be done. And also, that garbage situation, July 4th week, it was embarrassing. I had my neighbor had people from out of town, and our garbage wasn't picked up for 2 days after July 4th, and it was embarrassing. So I know you guys are trying, but something's got to be done. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? There's one shot. But I'm going to be here after the meeting. You're welcome to express yourself to me any way you need to. All right. With that, we're going to move on to board comments. Trustee Papa.
Yeah, I'll let you address some of the stuff like the splash pad and all that.
I took notes. I'll deal with it. I'll handle all that.
Good. Yeah, first, thank you to all the residents who came out this evening to, express your concerns. Just want you to know that we are listening to you. Most of us, I believe all of us have experienced some level of disruption in our trash pickup. So we are equally as frustrated as you guys and looking for a resolution. Thank you to the supervisor's office for Olivia, Grace, Beth, for handling all of these calls professionally, promptly. So thank you for that. On a lighter note, the Run the Plank was about a week and a half ago, I think it was. But that was hosted by Emmanuel Lutheran, St. Isidore, St. Peter Lutheran. We had over 700 runners. I was about a second and a half slower than last year, but it was pretty hot out there that morning. So, but it was definitely a lot of fun. Not to brag, I hold the distinction of now officially being the township's fastest trustee. So take that for what it's worth.
Only one that ran, but okay. Trustee Oliver.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. I like you say, yeah. Well, maybe I'll try going against you next year. You'll still be the fastest. Again, thank you. Follow up on Mr. Papa. Again, you took your time out to come here. And I do want to say, our supervisor, the residents get a bye with Frank Viviano. And I know that sounds like a political speech, but I'll come by here many nights at 7 o'clock, and his truck is still here. It's empty, but Frank's truck's there, his lights on. So I know he's going to do everything in his power with his staff to help the residents. And other than that, that's about it.
Thank you,
We'll
Trustee
see you at
Oliver.
the races next year, Ron. Maybe.
Trustee Kuzmano.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I just have a few words. I'd like to also congratulate the supervisor for his handling of these matters. If the current provider of waste management services just takes a 1, 2, 3 out, I'm going to be asking for closed session to examine aggressive steps legally to ensure our position. But in the meantime, like I said, we all hear you and value your opinions because we're all in this together. As for the sidewalk issue, this is a matter that was passed by the board because the money has to come from somewhere. This board has supported Parks and Recs very generously, and that's because we are cognizant of the new homeowners with children. It's not important to me at this point in my life, but I do acknowledge and recognize the importance to many people who are starting to raise their families here, and therefore I voted accordingly. So who's going to pay for the sidewalks? In our case, at Ultimate Farm subdivision, we are blessed that we have accumulated a residual bank account so that if there is any broken sidewalks, our association will try to either directly pay that or subsidize it. I suggest that you go to your association board if you have a functional association. Other than that, thank you for coming out. And like I said, we hear you, we understand you, and we value your opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kuzmano. Treasurer Gillette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I trust I can leave it to you to address the residents' concerns about Heidenreich.
I will.
And about the water fountain for the children.
I will.
And about the police patrol officers.
Are you going to address anything? Or
I'm just making sure you're going to cover it.
Yeah.
But
Typical.
Yeah, I have had the opportunity to serve on the County Board of Commissioners, in which the County Board of Commissioners represents people from the entire county. I've also had the opportunity to serve in the state legislature, obviously where people I served with represented people across the entire state. I can tell you from those experiences that Macomb Township is not a township of nitpickers or complainers. That people do not come out and complain excessively or needlessly. When people show up for a meeting, they've got a real concern. So, the fact that people came here on such short notice today shows that, I believe this is a serious concern. These are not people who come every time there's a small problem. This happens when there's a big problem. So I want to appreciate the residents who took the time to come out on short notice and share with us their frustrations and help us move toward a resolution on this issue. So thank you, all of you, for coming out tonight. And I'm just hopeful that we can get through this and that we can improve the situation and that we'll get the level of service the people of this community deserve. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so there was a lot of things brought up. I'm going to try and adjust the ones that I've written down here. So the gentleman who mentioned, about learning from our contract. My short answer is yes. This job is a constant learning experience. And next time we go out for bid, we are going to use everything we have learned about this situation and we are going to apply it to that next request for proposals. And we are going to do our best to never be in this situation again. Can't promise we won't be, but we are certainly going to try and apply these lessons to those new contracts. Code enforcement. Code enforcement is always a sensitive subject. We do not try to be the aesthetic police for neighborhoods. However, we do have rules. Code enforcement is and always has been largely complaint driven. Our code enforcement officers, and we've tripled the number since I've been here. So we used to have one, and now we have 3. However, they are very busy running around the township responding to complaints and trying to deal with neighbors. And again, and I've told this at the HOA meetings, our goal is to not write fines. Our goal is to inform people when they're out of compliance and hopefully get cooperation with them and so that they voluntarily bring themselves into compliance. And we only write fines when absolutely necessary. Our 3 code enforcement officers are very, very good at that. They engaged with the residents, they talk to them, they try and find out their situations. I can't tell you how many times we have discovered an elderly member of our community simply needed help or other exigent circumstances that led to the complaint. And we've been trying to find ways to help those people. So if you do have concerns, I do suggest you reach out to the code enforcement through the website or call them. And they are very good at coming out and seeing what your problem is and talking to your neighbor if necessary. The sidewalks. So it has been a common criticism of the program that we, quote, don't own the sidewalks. And in fact, you do. And I'll explain it this way. When homes are built in Macomb Township and in most other communities, you are required to have a sidewalk built with your home. all of the new develops, and I know you said you lived in one of the older homes, but in all the new developments, those builders cannot build their house without the sidewalk. It comes with it. It is physically not located on your property. That part is true. It is located on the county road right-of-way. It is owned by the Macomb County Department of Roads. That is also true of a part of your driveway. So you have a driveway approach that connects your driveway to the road. If that piece of concrete fails or breaks or splinters, because it's on the Macomb County Department right-of-way, they are not going to come and fix it for you. It is your driveway. The same as it is, those are your sidewalks. Now, sidewalks are the one unique thing in state law that the townships or the municipalities are permitted to charge back to the residents. The state legislature went out of their way to give municipalities that ability. And there's a reason for that, because the public right-of-ways and the ability for the community to have safe pedestrian travel is a priority, and not just in Macomb Township, but in every community. And the one thing you did say that is true, some communities do tax their residents and apply it that way. They charge everybody, like you said, $25 or $50. But that means you're paying that forever. And you may not have a broken sidewalk, but the people 5 miles away might, and your money is going to go to fix their sidewalk and someone else's sidewalk. We use the same model as I believe the majority of municipalities, and I'll call it a user pay scenario, where you are responsible for the maintenance of your sidewalk, and if your sidewalk is deficient, we look at it, we have it inspected, and then we determine how much that'll cost. Now, unlike some municipalities that require you to pay within the first few months, or it goes on your tax bill, Macomb Township has made a provision where it won't necessarily go on your tax bill right away. We've given you really a year and a half to pay it. We do understand it is not fun to get a surprise bill, and I am sorry for anybody that got that and was shocked, and it's a lot of money, and I understand all of that. But we are required to make sure that those sidewalks are safe. And this is the program that we've put in place, and it is a program that is consistent in, and I can tell you because I've lived through it in St. Clair Shores. We borrowed programs from Shelby, Chesterfield, Clinton, and others. We looked at all of them, and we borrowed what we believe were the best practices from each and put them in place here. A splash pad. It is a very common request. A lot of residents would love a splash pad. A lot of us on the board would love a splash pad. We built our latest park. It simply did not have room to accommodate a splash pad and the amount of traffic a splash pad would generate. We don't have plans for another park right now, although we know the township probably could grow to accommodate one in somewhere time in the future. So will there be a splash pad? Maybe, maybe not. I can't say that right now. We don't have any plans for one. A splash pad is very expensive, not only to build, but to maintain. All of those things have to be factored in. And we'll see as the years go on where we can put one, if we can put one, and if we can afford it. I do know that it's a common request. It's very high. I believe in the last time we did a master plan, it was a very high request. I understand why. I had, well, my kids are a little bit older now, but I'm a parent myself, and we struggled with things to do with them in the hot months. But
The fountain.
You want me to mention the fountain?
Mention the fountain.
Okay. So, in the interim, township did receive a grant from the state of Michigan to reimagine our town square. And as a part of that, at least at the plan at the moment, is to have an interactive fountain of some kind. Will it be a full-blown splash pad like in Township? No. But it'll be something more than what Partridge Creek has.
It'll be a run-through play fountain for kids.
There you go. Hasn't been designed yet, but that's part of the plan for redoing Town Square. So that there will at least be some feature that we have that gets us maybe part of the way there. our roads with our officers. So if you had not heard from our budget this year, we did approve 2 new sheriff's deputies to start. They don't start until October, but hopefully with 2 more officers on the road, some of that speeding will be curbed. I think that's all the
21
question.
Heindreich.
Oh, 21, that's a big one. 21 Heindreich, 21 and Heindreich separately. So, yes, we do have plans to repave both. There is a project that has passed various levels of approvals and is currently sitting and waiting for, is it state approval right now?
With SEMCOG.
SEMCOG already approved it.
Well, then with the state.
The state. So, it was approved by the Federal Aid Committee. It was approved by SEMCOG, which I'm a member of, and now it's waiting for state approval, which we do anticipate. When it's approved, the township will have a project with the Macomb County Department of Roads to repave all the way from Hall Road to 22, so all of Heindreich gets repaved, and then 21 Mile Road from basically the halfway point, which is near the corner of the Dakota Complex, all the way west to Romeo Plank. So 3.5 miles of repaving, including adding turn-in lanes at the 21 and Heindreich intersection and new lights and new mid-block crossings for the students. So all of that we hope to get done in 2027.
Yes.
If things go well.
That's how
So-
slow things move, unfortunately.
No. So we do have other road projects that we've talked about lately, but we are not ignoring 21 and Heindreich or our other needs. We are just trying to get to them all in their due time. And can we explain why Card was chosen to be repaved? That was not our choice, I don't believe.
Yeah, it's part of the Department of Roads Pavement Preservation
Yeah.
Program. We gave them a number of areas, 25 Mile that was mentioned earlier, that was one of those areas. But they set the priorities.
Yes.
They choose the projects.
And then we didn't, because we don't participate financially in those. But
That's
they do
correct.
ask for our input.
Yes.
So Mr. Van Tiffelen bothers them a lot. So to our issues with priority tonight, I do want to thank everybody for coming out. Your input is very important. Do not hesitate to reach out to my office. I know you heard a lot how overwhelmed Beth and Olivia and my team are, but we don't want you to be dissuaded from contacting us should you need our help. Please do remember to be polite. We are doing all of our very best to service you. There have been a few not so polite phone calls, and while I empathize with everyone's frustration and I share it, I just want to remind everybody that my team is there to help you. I guess that's all I have.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Any questions or discussion on the motion? Motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Treasurer Kuzmano.
Treasurer Kuzmano.
Trustee Kuzmano. And my computer went silent, Roger.
Voice vote.
To adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? This meeting is adjourned.